Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I am a huge fan of cars used in old British TV series filmed between the late 1950s and late 1990s. Join me on a journey as we look back on over 40 years of British television and its relationship with the automobile. I made a selection of videos last year talking about a lot of these series, and I'm doing it again to make them even better.
Where am I? In the village. What do you want? Information. Whose side are you on? That would be telling. We want information. 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 You won't get it. By hook or by crook, we will. Who are you? The new number 2. Who is number 1? You are number 6. I am not a number. I am a free man.
I am not a number. I am a free man. Well, there's only one series we can be talking about if I'm saying that. That's The Prisoner. The Prisoner was made in collaboration with ITC by Everyman Productions, a company owned by the absolutely legendary Patrick McGoohan, who was Irish stroke American but lived a lot of his life over in this country. The Prisoner was really his sort of pet project. He'd made a series called Danger Man or Secret Agent, which is the title in America of the sort of latter half of the Danger Man series, between 1959 and 1967. And, 66, it finished production. 67 was the last sort of broadcast, I think. No, 68 was Danger Man last broadcast, because they actually broadcast the last episode of Danger Man. There were only a couple of them. There weren't many after The Prisoner, which is really weird. So it was filmed early 1966 in colour, very short season. and that wasn't broadcast until 1968. So after Danger Man had finished its weird 4th season, he decided that he wanted to make something else. And because he had quite a lot of star power at the time, I mean, we've coloured the cars of Danger Man on this series before in the sort of old format where I don't show you photographs of the cars and stuff. That will be in the description below. I'll put that in so you can have a look at Danger Man. But essentially, Patrick McGoohan was the main driving force behind The Prisoner. It is a series that really, really defies any kind of rational explanation. I don't know where to begin about talking about it. Really, what you've just seen in the title sequence is as much as really you need to know about what's going on. Is the village part of the other opposition? This sort of, you know, the Russians, do they run the village? Do the British own the village? We don't really know. We kind of sort of get hints of what's going on in some of the episodes, but we really still don't know. Where is it? Well, the location of The Prisoner was in Portmeirion, which is in North Wales. It's beautiful up there. I thoroughly recommend visiting Portmeirion. I've not been there for years, but if you get a chance to go to Portmeirion, I thoroughly recommend it. It's a beautiful place, and you can see a lot of the same locations used in The Prisoner. Absolutely iconic in every way. So they started filming in September 1966 in Portmeirion, and they finished about, I think it was January, February 1968. Certainly the last episode was broadcast about February 68, so they sort of rushed to finish it. And Patrick McGoohan himself actually scripted and directed that episode, because people, I don't think even he really knew where it was going to end. And, you know, I don't even really want to even try to describe the final episode of The Prisoner, which is called Fallout. I wouldn't know where to begin. But we do have some nice iconic cars in The Prisoner. It's possibly the best television series of all time, depending on who you ask. I personally don't enjoy The Prisoner as much as The Avengers. I think The Prisoner's probably better made. Certainly, they didn't really have any time constraints when making it, apart from right at the end. So they had ages to make the episodes, and Patrick McGoohan, although he's difficult to work with, was a bit of a genius, and you can really feel it when you look at the series. Let's look at some of the cars actually used in The Prisoner. There's not an awful lot of them, but the ones that are there are very, very iconic indeed. First of all, you'll see in The Prisoner an awful lot. The Mini Mokes, there were, we believe, 4 of them. They were based on 1965 Mini Mokes that were customised by the coach building firm Wood and Pickett. Now, they had a demonstrator that was used to give the aesthetic look of the car from the cars used in The Prisoner. That was called HLT 709C. That's still around. That popped up in a barn in Holland in 2011, and that's now been restored. I think I've seen that in person, actually, at one of the Prisoner or ITC events. I go to a lot of ITC events, as you can imagine, after, you know, watching a few episodes of Cars on Television. And one of people I know has made a replica of it, which is like a G-Reg or something, so it's not one of the original ones. So Wooden Pickett had this kind of demonstrator type thing that they put some bits and pieces onto a normal Moke in 1966, and the production crew of The Prisoner liked the look of it so much that they asked them to make some more. An HLT 709C is the demonstrator car. The others were sort of based on that. I think most of them, apart from that one, had the stuff removed and then they were sold on. Another car that survives is CFC 916C. Now, you never see the plates used in the series. all of them look identical. So yeah, I mean, who's to say which one is which? We don't really know. The other card that's absolutely iconic about The Prisoner is, of course, Lotus 7, or Mark 7 if you're being very pedantic. Now, there were actually 3 cars used in the filming of The Prisoner. The original one, KAR 120C, was a 1965 Series 2 7 with a, or sometimes a Super 7 they're called, a pre-crossflow Cosworth modified Ford 1.5 litre engine. That is used in 2 episodes actually. It's used in the title sequence, in Arrival, and then in Many Happy Returns. It was sold to somebody in Australia in early 1967 after the filming of Many Happy Returns, which I think was March 67, so that would have been just after that, and promptly written off in an accident, which is a shame. By the time they came to the autumn 1967 and they wanted to film another episode with the car, because it had left the country, they had to borrow another one that looked the same but put the plates on it, and that was LCK88D. It was owned by a local man from Borehamwood, and you see it being driven around Borehamwood and places like that with the now false plate on it, although that plate is owned by Caterham Cars these days, and so you see it on an awful lot of modern Caterham 7s. My cousins actually both have kit built racing Caterham 7s, so I have been in one, and it is quite an experience. I haven't seen the original car. Obviously, it doesn't exist anymore. I've seen a nice replica of one at, again, one of the ITC or Prisoner fan events. They often bring that over there, and it's nice to see it. They are tiny little things, actually. For Fallout, the last episode, they actually had a third different car, because by the time that the production of that was happening in sort of early 1968, the chap who owned the one that's been used to Do Not Forsake Me or My Darling had sold it onto a dealer, so it wasn't around anymore. So that was actually an earlier car that Lotus supplied themselves with a Ford Anglia 100E engine, and it just is modified to look like that particular one. I can't spot a lot of difference between that and the main car, but obviously some of you will be able to do that. And the chap you see delivering the car to Patrick McGoohan in Fallout is Graham Nern, the founder of Caterham Cars, which until 1973 was just a Lotus dealership. In the episode The Girl Who Was Deaf, there's a couple of other cars. One of them was driven by Justine Lloyd, who plays a character called Deaf, because the episode's called The Girl Who Was Deaf. She has a Jaguar E-Type from 1963. It's a 3.8 Roadster, 3815DG. And Patrick McGoohan actually fulfills something that Lotus themselves wanted to happen for the series, and that is to drive it in LAN. Now, he was offered in LAN. It's a very similar car to the one driven by Dinah Rigg in the Avengers, or the second one, because there were actually 2 of those. And I cover that in the podcast about Cars of the Avengers Part 1, which probably not many of you have seen, but I'll link again to that in the description below. It's a different one. This is got a Lotus factory plate on it, as SJH 499D did. That was the second one used in the Avengers. This is LVF 120E, registered I think April 67. The Girl Who Was Deaf was, I think, filmed in about August, September 1967. I can't remember exactly now. It just looks very similar to the one in the Avengers, although it's not exactly the same. And that's driven around kind of in the Borehamwood area. In the title sequence as well, of course, the other iconic car is the hearse. Now, it's not an Austin hearse. It's actually a Princess 4-litre hearse. It's slightly after the Austin ones were. It's a 57 one, TLH 858. The bodywork is by a company called Alpen Saunders. In Fallout, for some reason, that one wasn't available, so they had another one, and the registration number of that is 289ALW. So only two parts in this episode talking actually about cars or vehicles, because, as I said, there's really not an awful lot to talk about in terms of numbers, although, you know, a lot of them are interesting in themselves. In Many Happy Returns, Patrick McGoohan hitches a lift on a 1959 Bedford J1 lorry at NK223. In Fallout, we actually see Patrick McGoohan's own car. Obviously, Lotus had supplied the 7, so his own car is a Bentley S-Type, and we see that in Fallout. In the episode ABC, which was filmed on the backlot at MGM Bournemouth Studios, where they just filmed a Dirty Dozen, they decided to use the castle that had been used in that film for an episode called A, B and C, and you see a fight over the bonnet of a 1962 Citroen DS19. There's also an Alfa Romeo around in that, but I haven't got a screenshot of that, I'm afraid, but so I won't include that. In Many Happy Returns, there's a Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 2 from 1962, 8642MU. In Fallout as well, the vehicle that transports the majority of those who've been freed from the village, because there is a big sort of uprising and some people do escape from the village, is a Scammell Highwayman. I don't know what year it is or anything, but it's a big kind of heavy duty lorry, and there's a sort of funny cage thing on the back of it. And the last one I'll talk about is an episode called The Chimes of Big Ben. Anyone who's a fan of The Prisoner will know these episodes. They're all iconic episodes. This is some filming done in North Wales, and it's an Austin FF 7-ton K140 truck from 1959. Really, to ask the question, is The Prisoner worth watching today, is to dilute its tremendous cultural and sort of social context. It's a series that really defies classification. It defies really it trying to be kind of sort of you know, worked out. It's very much open to interpretation as to what is going on a lot of the time, and if you're into that kind of thing, then that's fantastic. One thing I will say is, do not watch the 2009 remake of The Prisoner. As with so many things, we don't talk about that on this channel. But anyway, don't forget to subscribe for more episodes of Cars on Television. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment below. Don't forget to visit my Instagram page, Lloyd Vehicle Consulting, and also my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Thank you ever so much indeed for watching.